Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to View with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Oaxaca, the show of airplanes, birds, mortality, and all of those big things. So I'm still trickling out interviews from my trip to Oaxaca. There were a couple things that I hadn't put out yet. This is actually quite a... If you want to know what's in the vaults, there's a lot of stuff in the vaults. Obviously, I'm busy. I try to put these out every about 2 to 3 weeks. But this is a really interesting conversation. I knew all of Ansley's brands, right? I knew Craft Distillers, Alapuz, Mezcaleros, Los Nahuales. I knew of Germain Robin, the Brandy. I knew of Hangar One Vodka. Like, I knew of all this stuff. But I didn't know the impact that Ansley had on the industry. And I didn't know what an 80-year-old Buddhist, probably 81 at this point, how they operate, right? I recently saw an interview with Roger Corman that Joe Bob Briggs did, I think, last year. And Roger Corman is so sharp, so present, and remembers his career with such vast detail. And that is exactly what it's like talking to Ansley at 80 years old. It's crazy. And this is a really life-changing interview for me. And I heard that our conversation impacted Ansley so much, in fact, that he started looking at the relationships he had with folks in his life professionally and personally. So, without further ado, I'd love to share this chat with Ansley Coale Jr., the founder of Craft Distillers, founder of Germain Robin, Hangar One Vodka, and so much more. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Look, the important stuff has really been since about 2004. At one point we were doing, when Hangar One was really booming, we were doing $9 million a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was huge, right? And we had 19 people, okay? And everyone, want me to shut down for a minute while this is...
There is no accounting for the planes.
I love the way they just take off right over the town and then they turn, right?
That's right. Right.
Anyway, no question.
All the sounds, I think, are really
we had
enriching.
19 people
Yeah.
working for us, and everyone who had been there 3 years, it was the longest job they'd ever had in their life.
Wow.
Right? In other words, what we were was a place where people liked what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
And what we were doing with the number of people we had was, a lot of people had 3 times as many people and getting the same thing done because everybody was so committed to what they were doing because they loved it, right?
Yeah.
So that's, since then, especially, and then we started working in Mezcal at about the same time. It was 2004. Mm-hmm. Ron Cooper turned me on to Jaime, who was looking for export, right? In Aspen, and I got it right away.
What do you mean, get it?
I got it. It's like, this is about people. This is about human beings,
right?
And it's a way of being human beings which is at risk, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we could be doing was it wasn't about buying and selling. It was about how do we do this in ways that does not diminish the social and cultural background to Mezcal, right? Mm-hmm. I got that right away, and you could just feel it, right? Yeah. And so we couldn't get Alapuz until 2009, and when we got Alapuz, we started Mezcalero in the same year. Okay, and that was really sort of like the way I wanted to approach it, which was going back to the producers rather than talking about the brand. At the time, that was completely novel. We started all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The Mezcalero label that listed the wild agaves from the producer and the date it was made, that was the first one that did that, right? Because that's what it's about, right? It's a batch product. It's about human beings devoting love and attention to something that they really love to do. Right?
Would you consider yourself a humanitarian in that respect?
No. It's just sort of like, all humans ought to live that way.
Yeah.
Right. It's just sort of, what do you want to do? What do you want to do when you get up in the morning?
Right.
Something meaningful, or you want to watch TV, right? I mean, if you see what I'm saying.
I do. Well, it begs the question, because sometime in 81, 82, you left academia, right?
No, I left in 75.
75, okay.
Yeah.
But you come from a lineage of academia, right?
My father was
at Princeton, right?
Yeah, he was huge.
Yeah.
If he got nominated for the Nobel Prize.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't get it because they didn't think demography was really economics, right? But
But it was about people still then.
I had to learn that.
You had to learn that.
Yeah, no, he was a jerk.
Kind of like is it the academic, what I deem many fathers in the classic 60s cinema, where they're too busy with work, drinking now and again.
Listen, I'm driving around New England selling, okay? And there was some guy who was he used to be on NPR. And he had a little science thing, and they blow him on for 5 or 10 minutes every once in a while, right? They just awarded the Nobel Prize, and he said, the Nobel Prize ought to be called the Nobel Consolation Prize, because the kind of work you have to do to get that means you've missed what's important about life, right? So, that's how it was. Yeah.
Well, and you have a reset. How long have you been involved with Buddhism, which to me is a different mental state, that kind of divorcing yourself?
1973.
Was that
1973.
Also? Does this stuff all kind of line up at the same time? Do you have a moment or a trigger?
I grapple with this too.
Yeah.
Why? Right.
Yeah. Why?
It's like, I just look, as soon as this guy, somebody says, hey, there's this great Tibetan Buddhist. He's one of the first ones, right? And he's giving these, Dharma talks up, in an old fraternity house. And I go up there, and listen to the guy. There's no question. It's like he was just telling truth. And why do I get that? I can't tell you.
Yeah, but it resonated with you.
Totally. But like, I'm here, I'm walking around. I'm actually with Ron Cooper.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to get us to buy Del Maguey. This was a long time ago.
No kidding.
Yeah. And look, whatever you think of Ron Cooper, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for Ron Cooper, right? He sold his house so he could keep his business going, right? Okay, God bless him. But anyway, the guy who was doing his driving told me about walking to Huquila. As soon as he said, I said, I'm going to do that. It was just like, right, I've done it 6 times, right? Just sort of, these guys from Tepito and DFA, church group, turning into sweet guys because they spend time together for 5 days. It's interesting, walking. But anyway, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But I have this urge, okay? And it just seems to be, it just seems, I don't know. What are you going to do with your life?
Right.
It's about helping other people. Is really what it is. How do you get really happy? It's not for thinking about yourself. When you feel really happy is when you've done something good for another human being.
Absolutely. Yeah. This, all the things you've done, and I've heard recent work as well in Toledo, kind of giving back. You bought was it junior high school? You're going to turn into a rec center?
It was an old college, 30,000 square foot building.
Yeah. Does this chapter, which I'm sure there are many left, is it even more about giving back now?
Yeah.
Because you've had Germain Robin, you sold that, you're doing this amazing work with the Mezcaleros. Does it drive you even more now to give back to others?
How much time do you have? Yeah. I'm serious. It's what you start thinking about.
Yeah.
How much time do I have?
Is that right?
Yeah. So, so the urgency gets, him, he's okay with it, but I work with people at the business. Hey, Ansley, you're so impatient. I said, no, come on, man. Right? We got to get this done. Right?
Yeah. It's funny. My father recently retired. He worked all the time. He was kind of there. Not always very present for my brother and I, And now that he's sitting there with much time on his hands, but not a lot to do, he's really grappling with mortality now. And I think he's really afraid of it. But as you do more, as you try to find your connectivity with the universe, mortality you seem very fearless to me. It doesn't matter to you, does it?
No, you have a life.
Yeah.
Just like, and a lot of, we could spend an hour talking about what mental concepts are, sure. Right? But, you have, attachment's not good for you. And what's your biggest attachment? It's to being alive, right? And even that is sort of, it's got these sort of phantasmic aspects to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your life is what you imagine it is. Why are you satisfied? It's in your head, right?
You must meditate.
I used to do it a lot. Not anymore.
No time?
Not anymore. I think the time is gone where you sit in a cave because the world needs help. And so if you do your practice by paying attention to what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, that's your practice, okay? And the Lama I worked with, he was very big on that. Work very hard and pay attention to what happens. What am I going to say? What are your dissatisfactions? Pay attention. Why are you having these dissatisfactions? They're all inside your head, right? And so it's like, it's been daily life. How do I do things right? You know, for other human beings mostly, you know?
The studies you did with Greek language, Greek history, Roman language, do these serve as good foundations for the things that you've achieved with the branding?
No, it's really, I learned how to think. You know, I think very clearly. Because, I mean, that's what you do. Study things and figure out how to explain them to other people, right? So, you know, that's really what it's about. And then you have these rich associations that you can draw on when you're thinking. But no, that's not part of my daily life. No.
Not anymore.
No. We're talking 50 years.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nostalgia, is that a thing for you? Do you?
No.
You
I
don't.
never think people. It bothers. No. What's me? When we were doing Hangar 1, I had another guy, Don Sutcliffe, who used to run Remy Amérique west of the Rockies, okay? Three secretaries in office in L.A., and he came work for us because he wanted to be doing the work we're doing, okay? He and I had exactly the same thing. It's about the process. It's about the process. People say, where are we headed? We said it was like Hangar 1. It's like you're on a train. You're the engineer. You've never been on the track before. You don't know what's coming down the road, right? So you go the track, which is what's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That's obvious at the moment. What's the right thing to do now? Well, we got to do this. We got to do this. But what's around the bend? You deal with it when it comes up. So, you know, and you say to the people, where are we going? What are we going to do? I don't know. You know, it's like what we're doing right now. It's sort of like we're setting all this stuff into motion. Where's it going to go?
When, you know, Mezcal being a huge chapter of your career and your life, you talk about, there's no other spirit of which connects you to the earth and people more.
No.
Can you recall the first time where you really felt that connectivity when you're either drinking Mezcal or you're here in Oaxaca?
It was when Ron was trying to sell Del Maguey to us, and we visited his Chichicapa, right? His distillery in Chichicapa. I got it. These are human beings, right? And very down to earth, right? And but I don't know. It evolved. I just knew there was something. You could feel it.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't figure out the connection to the beverage for probably 5 or 6 years.
Is that right?
I just liked it.
Yeah. And
I liked the people, but I don't know. I've just been thinking about it more and more and more. There's something, you know, like, you know, pulque, which has got the same esters in it, right? You know, you weren't allowed to drink it because it was supposed to be used to talking to the gods. And that stuff's in there, right? And what that is, I couldn't tell you, but it runs really deep, right? And I think it's one of the reasons that Mezcal is working right now. So is that, you know, something happens to you when you drink Mezcal, and it's satisfying on some level that I think people aren't even aware of, you know? But how many people do you know that once they start drinking Mezcal, they don't drink anything else?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, all of a sudden there's some connection that happens to something really deep inside of you and maybe somewhere else, right, that happens when you drink Mezcal. But it took me a while to figure that out.
Do you feel like right now you still have a lot to learn about Mezcal? Given you've got some great producers.
I have a lot to learn about myself, you know, that's never stops.
Yeah.
But the other is how to do business in ways that both work and are the optimum thing for the people you work with.
Right.
That's ongoing.
Yeah.
Right. Because things are changing here so fast. I mean, the Communidad brand that I'm starting with right now, that its direct intent is to preserve the social and cultural milieu that these things are being produced in, and to also start giving back to the communities that that's why it's called Communidad.
Yeah.
Right?
And has it, I know I talked a little bit to Chris about the project, but have you officially announced it yet?
No.
Okay. But it's
No, this
still
is a scoop.
Did you ever do any journalism? It seems like no interviews with people. Or
I did a million interviews when it was Germain Robin.
Yeah.
It was like, but I don't know. It's just stuff.
It is stuff. But I know Ron, and I've interviewed Ron, and he always felt so territorial about Mezcal, and that's okay. But and I know about the litigation and all this is public records, But for you, as you see the category growing, more and more Mezcal is entering the market. How do you feel about that? Is it? I
mean, it's in danger. It's an endangered species right now, and I don't think people understand it. But I mean, there's so many people coming in. They want to make some money doing something that makes them feel good about who they are. It's about image instead of content, right? Yeah. And that's very destructive. The difference between now and 15 years ago is profound. And I don't know. That's why that was really the genesis of Communidad. Is there anything we can do? If we do a really good job doing what we're doing, it would be great if people imitated us. So we're successful because we're doing this and it's real, right? So somebody says, "Oh, I can do that." See what I mean? And that would be great. Yeah. So maybe is that possible? I don't know.
But at least it's an earnest effort.
Yeah, you got to try, right?
You have to try.
What's here is really great.
Yeah. You've been coming to Oaxaca at least 15 years? 16?
2004.
Yeah. I've noticed the city's changed a bit here too.
But back then they were setting buses on fire. I mean, you couldn't get to the airport, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah. But
do you embrace change? It seems like you've really, not pivoted is the wrong word, but you've had such diversity.
No, but it has a common content, right? No, I made a vow to myself about, I don't know, it just happened. I was walking down the street and I thought, I want to live in 1955 the rest of my life.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What about it appeals to you?
Community. People not being, I mean, the world is getting increasingly sort of like self-directed. Yeah. And that's not good, And, it's sort of like, when I walk to Juquila, okay, I don't see another gringo for 5.5 days, right? Sure. It's just like, and so we're in these small villages, right? And these guys are always coming up to me because they went to California to work. And here's a gringo. I can talk to him about LA or something and say, hey, how are you, right? And then we start talking. I said, what brought you back? He says, my parents got old. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's supposed to happen to me 30, 40 times, right? In the course, during the walks. And what's that about? I mean, a guy goes and he builds a life. He has kids. He has a wife. He has a house. He has a job. His parents get old. He comes back and he takes care of them. Yeah. What are we doing with our...
Right.
Now let's put him in this closet, right?
Yeah, I mean, and I have to ask then, my folks are getting older. They're just a few years younger than yourself. Was there a situation, or was there something you had to confront or kind of really address when your father got older, or was it something more tragic?
He had, by the time he retired, and Princeton had an insanely rich retirement thing, so he had a lot of money. So they just moved into this sort of like Quaker retirement community where you lived in an apartment, and then when you got sicker, you moved into a room, and then when you were dying, you moved into the, and they didn't want any part of it. No. I mean, I tried to get my mom after he died to move in. No, she wanted to be there. Really? I mean, she's part of the same gestalt. Right? Yeah.
Did you? I mean, was it? My mom and I get on very, very well. She's from San Francisco, born and raised, and single mom for a long time. But I never felt like I had to break away from the family. But it feels like you know what I'm
getting at? My brother and I.
Yeah.
We got two things. When my father died, we were relieved.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah,
It was like there was this stuff that was just negative. Yeah. And it was no longer part of our lives, right? But the other thing it turned us both into fabulously good parents. Yeah. Because we knew what not to do.
Perfect. You get married enough times, you know what you don't want in a partner, right?
No. I can still make that mistake, right? But it's just, I don't know. I've been lucky. I've had a lot, like living a year in Lamu. That's an island off the coast of Kenya. That was a community. Yeah. That was a community, right? And they were so welcoming because I was there because I wanted to be part of what was going on. And they just loved that. I mean, people used to say hello to me in the street, right, and so forth, right? And, you know, I mean, okay, that's how human beings ought to live, you know? I saw it, and I was part of it, and, you know, Berkeley was the opposite. All these egos, oh, Christ, childish because they've never been in the real world.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
was that kind of ultimately what led you to start with the
No,
brandy?
I didn't. I had no idea what was going on. I was going to plant. I bought a big ranch.
Yeah.
In 1973. I mean, I bought a 2,000-acre ranch for $200,000, 10% down, balanced for 35 years at 5%. It was like free.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it was a big ranch. It had houses on it, you know, stuff like that. It was just, you know, it was before people discovered it. And so I was going to plant grapes. And then Germain Robin shot me hitchhiking. That story's true, right? He was hitchhiking.
Well, and apparently there was another hitchhiker that pulled a gun on you, so you weren't so prone to
Okay, how'd you know that?
I read there was a New York Times article about you in '88.
No, Frank Prial really liked what we did. He was a good guy.
Yeah.
He used to call me up and say, "Can I come visit?" Right?
Nice. So, but is that true? There was actually, you're pretty reticent to pick up a hitchhiker because someone pulled a gun on you?
No, I wasn't reticent. I just I don't know how that story got out. I don't know, you know, it's like, you know, the guy was a Vietnam vet. And, you know, what he did is have me take him to a bar, and then he got up and went inside. So I went in and I said, "The bartender, you know this guy?" He says, "Yeah, he's fucked in the head. What happened?" I told him. He says, "He never would have done anything. Don't worry about it." So I didn't, you know, okay, God bless you. You know, but, God, that was a long time ago. No, it just seemed, I just knew there was, what the attraction for me was keeping it alive.
Yeah.
It was what he wanted, the way he wanted to make brandy was like this. It was disappearing, or had essentially disappeared, you know, except for a few hold-ons, you know. And so could we keep it alive? Could we keep the process alive? Could we keep alive something that went back 300-400 years, right? That was the...
And then the classic cognac still made its way into California.
You know, what can I say? You know, look, we were making the, you know, this is not boasting. We were making the best stuff anybody's ever made ever.
Right, but you probably didn't.
And nobody wanted it, right? Because of the, I mean, that's when I started figuring out what I wanted to be doing here. Because what I like about what you can do with this stuff is you can sell the stuff for what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And you just hope that you do a good enough job that people get some glimpse of what's in it and what's behind it. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, sort of like people have been selling cognac for years on basically lies, right? And the product isn't particularly good anymore, right? And most of it, and you know, but what we had to figure out was how to talk about our product in ways that conveyed what it was. And still nobody listened, but I learned how to talk about it.
How was
look what we did with Hangar One when we started using that vocabulary about a category that was open. I mean, we went like this.
Were you particularly interested in food and flavors when you? What was it about? Was it about reviving something that was a tradition?
Yes, keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Not just reviving it, but I mean, sort of like turning it into something meaningful, so it had reason to exist.
I see.
You know what I mean?
And that seems like maybe a little bit of a common thread in some of the projects that you take on.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But what does that come from? Because in a sense, to me, the way I kind of perceive it is that there's a cultural element that maybe is dying, and you see it as being so vital to making sure the culture exists that you want to make sure to bring it.
It is. It's why I don't know. It's, you know, I might have been happier if I was born in 1850, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, it's just how I've always been that way.
Yeah.
You know, I like old stuff.
Yeah.
Well, my house is full of old stuff.
Is it?
Right. Just
do you collect kind of antiquities?
I have a museum of no, I don't collect. It's just when you see something that's reasonably priced and you like the energy, you want it in your house.
Yeah.
So when you walk by it, you get, you know, I have a lot of stuff from Oaxaca.
Do you?
Yeah. Retablos, you know.
When it comes to art, let's say, is that something that also inspires you feel connected to as well? And then, you know, we're here live from the Aeropuerto de Oaxaca. I'll wait for this.
Yeah, I like art. I've been in a lot of museums.
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of museums.
You,
I mean,
but you have you?
And
would you ever
I just
consider?
like art. I don't do art.
You don't
but
do, okay.
I really get art, and I think a lot of that work in one way or another informs how I design and talk about. And I do all the web, all that web, and all the.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I do all our web stuff.
Yeah.
And I design all our labels.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So you have it in you, but it.
Yeah. No, it has. Yeah. No, but I just No, I don't know. I'm not comfortable talking about things I do well. I feel.
Understood.
You see, I just feel like, look, I'm just a guy.
I know. I feel that same way. Does anybody? All right. Well, then I'm gonna ask you a question that people ask me all the time. They say you're too humble. It's aggravating, and I'm like, I don't give a shit, to be honest. I just do the thing, and then that's it. Move forward.
Exactly.
Do people tell you the same thing?
No, it's like all the time. Hey, let's celebrate. Are you kidding? What are we going to do tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how I am. It's sort of like, and I don't want, That's interesting. You're the same way.
Yeah. Well,
it's sort of like, look, you know what I like? The Dalai Lama, when they try to make big fuss of him, he says, look, I'm just a monk.
That's right. But there is something, though, that I've learned this past year, and I'm curious how this is for you. It's not that I operate in a silo, but, I never met my dad. It's a little bit of background, right? Like, so I always felt like I was moving and marching to the beat of my own drum,
yes.
And what I see fit to do, I do. What I'm passionate about, etc. But what I've realized is that some of that work has affected people in a very positive way.
Right.
And they like to express their gratitude. And I'm not comfortable with that.
No, I have trouble with that. I say, look, come on, let's talk about something else.
Right.
You see?
But have you ever, much like you can connect with a moment in nature, nature asks nothing of you, and it probably doesn't even know you exist. It's just a shared existence, right? Especially when I was out with the agave fields and stuff, you can just kind of feel it. But when I started kind of allowing myself to breathe in the appreciation people felt for me, not for any kind of egoism or not for something to bring my mood up, things changed, So the question is, do you think you can allow that gratitude in? I'm
listening to you.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah. Because
I never think about it.
Just you keep kind of moving in mission modes.
I mean, even somebody will say something, and I realize I've had this really profound effect on somebody's life, right? And you sort of, and I was just, that was a day-to-day activity. What's the right thing to do right now? It's this, right? And
but the summation of all those really good acts, in some sense, gives you some goodwill, I think, in the world.
I'll be lying on my deathbed. Hey, did I do a good job? Right? I mean, that's, it's more like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is, I'm really not comfortable with it. I mean, it's interesting that you figured out some way of sort of like thinking about letting it in.
Yeah. It was tough. It's really tough.
It surprises me.
Yeah.
People say something, you say, really?
Right.
I wasn't.
Me? Little old me?
Yeah. Or, I didn't know it was doing that to you.
Yeah,
right? And it's sort of like, I was, It's interesting.
Yeah.
No, look, I say something I haven't said very often. We changed how liquor, Germain Robin and Hangar One changed how liquor was sold in the United States.
Absolutely.
Profoundly. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it was because of this concept of what you were doing was trying to convey real information about production to people so they could make an intelligent choice about product. You weren't selling to them, you were providing them information. And once they understood the brand, they'd buy your stuff because it was better than everybody else's.
Right.
And everybody's copying that shit like crazy. I mean, even the big guys, right? But now there's 2,500 craft distillers.
Yeah.
That's going to change the world forever. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be 2,500 craft distillers in 10 years, but I never think about that. No. It just comes on me every once in a while. I think, oh yeah, right,
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody's copying us so directly. Like, what was the vodka that the one out of Sweden that just copied the Hangar One package directly?
What? Oh, Svedka.
Yeah, that was our label.
Yeah.
We could have sued them.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so but God bless them.
Yeah. Well, knowing that you spent in 80, 81, Germain Robin comes about, and you have this amazing brand. I've always loved that brandy, man.
Yeah, well,
it's great stuff.
It was real.
It was real, exactly. It was not posing.
Some guy's heart was in that product.
That's right.
Right?
That's
I used to tease him, if you cut him, he was gonna, was it 20% alcohol?
Well, you know what?
We were distilling, right? There was a season, right? It ran from sort of like you had to start paying attention to the grapes around the end of August through, before we moved down the hill to actually sometime in January, he used to lose 15 pounds.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, because he was
thinking.
He couldn't turn it off.
Yes, right.
See what I mean? The product was like, and the way we used to work, we ran 24 hours a day. We just run the still really slow. We'd leave about 6 o'clock at night and turn it down to a trickle and then come back at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But that stuff, he's trying to go to sleep and the stuff is running.
I know.
Right.
It's like the telltale heart, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can't get away from it.
Yeah.
But knowing how much passion you had for this and how beautiful the product was it difficult to sell the gallon?
No.
It was easy.
No, you
decision?
remember we were talking earlier? Hey, okay, that's done. What's next?
So that's kind of how it was for you.
Yeah, we didn't have much choice. We were out of money.
Yeah.
What happened was that because of the growth, what happened to us because of 2,500 craft distillers was that even distributors who liked us and liked the product were compelled to start dealing in local distilleries.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? So they quit having room for us.
Yeah.
They quit having time, right? It just, we'd work like hell and we'd put up 1%.
Yeah.
And so we basically, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks God for giving us this great idea.
Sure.
Right?
Well, it's interesting because I asked you about reflection and you just keep going. You know, I mean, it from one project to the next.
Oh, you learn.
Yeah.
You learn things. You learn methods. You learn ways of doing things, right? And then that's what's fun.
Yeah.
Is doing shit.
That's right.
Right. I don't need to spend time thinking, oh yeah, I did this. No.
Are you given that you've broken many boundaries, you started new categories? I consider this a symptom or characteristic of being fearless. Do you have any fear in your body at all?
No, look, I always know what to do. I always know what to do. I don't know why that is.
Okay.
I always know what to do. I can't, the number of almost any things you could call mistakes is misjudging other people. But what are we going to do? Okay. It's sort of like, we're building the still and some guy who's the local mason, some guy I'm talking to says, hey, you put boiler brick under there. I said, what's boiler brick? And he says, that's stuff that stands 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you put any other brick in there, your flame is going to eat it. Yeah. Right? The stuff you put in the fireplace isn't going to work. It's in this white, dense brick. And so I had to go find boiler brick. There's no ads in it. It isn't in the yellow pages, boiler brick and shit like that, right? But as soon as the guy says, what am I going to do next? Go find some boiler brick, right? Yeah. And you start looking for boiler brick. It's just like, what am I going to do next? It's sort of like that railroad track analogy is true. The track is there. Yeah. Right? And if I have, what's fortunate in my life is that I see it, right? I can see the next 10 or 20 feet and I know it's going someplace good. I know it's going to work, right?
It's just I can sense it, and I won't use the word that comes to mind because I don't think it would resonate with you. But I worry about myself sometimes in the same sense that maybe we're in two different situations. You've already mentioned to me that time is now, the end of the track may be more near than ever, and
not for what I'm doing.
Right. No, I'm
going to get off the train. Somebody else is going to be driving.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. No, great point.
Yeah.
But do you ever get tired? Many people, they said, this dude's got more energy than all of us.
No, people say that to me
all the time, right?
You have more energy than any human being I've ever met.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. Just, okay. I'm with my mom, who's in this rest home with my dad. This was about 2-3 years before he died. And somebody gets in touch with me, says that her uncle is going to have his 102nd birthday.
Wow. Okay.
About 50 miles away. Okay. So I called her up. I said, we got to go. She says, I've never done much with family. I said, no, we got to go. Right. So we go. Here's this old guy in there. And there's a whole bunch of people who come because nobody had ever seen us for a long time since I was a kid, right? So there are all these relatives have come, his children and a couple of other people. And, there are two things about it that were, to me, astonishing. One of them was astonishing. The guy in the room who noticed how difficult it was for the black woman who was trying to take care of this thing and was sort of saying, do this instead of that, it was him.
Oh,
the 102-year-old guy in the room was the one who was picking up on the difficulty that she was having. The rest of us are all sort of going like this, okay? And the other thing was, I said, so then we get in the car and we go back. And I'm saying to my mom, how was that for you? And she says, all that terrible Campbell energy. I mean, that she had grown up with. That was her maiden name. Okay, all that terrible Campbell energy, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's genetic.
It's interesting that energy can exist in that sense.
My brother doesn't have it.
No. Younger brother, older brother?
Yeah, he's about 2 years younger than I.
You have that same kind of perpetual movement, and is he the same way as you?
You can't know. No, he's very calm. Sort of like, he's a high school teacher. 40 years.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, loved his kid. He was really good at it, right?
Yeah.
He loves the kids, They come see him. They like him. So he was really great at it. But no, he's not, No, I probably tire him out when I go see him. Right? That's funny. If you've got the same thing. I mean, it isn't. You don't have any choice.
No, you don't. And I'll tell you this: it probably has ruined every relationship I've ever been in romantically. To be perfectly honest, because I'm always thinking, I'm in the moment. Right now we're in the moment together.
No, I get it. No, I get it. No, this is starting to be a real conversation, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, no, and that's interesting. I mean, but that has to do with who you choose.
I think you're right. Of course. Yeah. I think that, has it been difficult for people? I'm not trying to go this deep. I'm really not.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
I don't care.
But has it been difficult for people to love you because you're just so active?
No, I think the problem they have is that, I mean, the last woman I spent some time with when we started out, I said, I don't think I have enough time for this relationship, but I don't have enough for me, but I probably don't have enough time for what you need in this relationship, right? Because, and she didn't get it and didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, because she, just, it was not satisfying for her, but
right.
my other two relationships, it was prime, it had to do with, I don't want to talk about why I broke up, but that wasn't the reason.
Different stuff. Well, it's just...
I was married to two very driven human beings.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you're very
So you start living
too.
this parallel life. Right? You see what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As we talked, you're not particularly nostalgic, but although I don't necessarily believe that, because I believe your commitment and your passion for cultures and making sure they can live on, that's a kind of nostalgic, I think, But do you consider yourself a romantic person? Or pretty...
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I like beauty.
Yeah.
I give flowers to women,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But no, I just look, I don't think it's romantic. Look, if I were to talk completely straight, this world is headed down a really bad path right now.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And anything that an individual human being can do to sort of like retard that or change it or something like that. I mean, I'm probably going to be doing what you're doing in a couple of years about the human mind. That's what I've been working on with the Lama for a long time. Yeah, right. The mind is a skill.
Yes.
Like hitting a ball. It's not a part of your brain. It just uses part of it. And you construct that mind from zero when you're born.
Yeah.
Right. And if you have some effect, if you understand that, the world gets a lot less problematic because it's in you. It's not,
right.
One of the big lamas was locked up by the Chinese for 20 years. Okay. And when he came back to Dharamsala, he went to see the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama said, that must have been really tough. And the guy said, yeah, I was really afraid. And he says, what, that you were going to, he says, no, that I would hate them.
Wow.
See, if you live like that, right?
Yeah.
That's how human beings ought to be, right? And we're not. The other thing, when I'm in Rome, at noon on Sundays, the Pope gets up and there's a window and he gives a little 15-minute talk, right? And 30,000 people, most of them crying. It's really, I start crying when I start thinking about it. The guy has enormous spiritual power. Right?
That's right.
And he said, people aspire to be saints. He says that's really hard. That's really hard. We can't all be saints.
Right.
Very few of us can be saints, but we can perform these saint-like acts. Helping an old woman across the street. That's probably the most resonant thing I've ever heard.
It's just
day to day.
kindness.
Can you just
Yeah.
selflessness, right? You're in a situation where somebody needs something, you can give it to them. Do I have time? You don't want to be doing that. Yeah, you got time.
You've got time, of course.
You know.
And I think you kind of realize that it's more about those gestures that add up over time than one grand gesture. Do you?
When we visit these people, they get that we get them.
Yeah.
You can feel it. It's like Victor told me that they brought somebody in from the German film crew from Los Angeles Show Malipus. And the guy said, "Hey, would you take off their shoes?"
What? Are you kidding me?
No.
What the fuck? We're kidding. Oh, this is ridiculous.
Right, exactly. But I mean, in other words, the guy is looking for this preconceived vision of what he thinks is great instead of what's actually there. Right. He doesn't see what's actually there. Right.
He's trying to shape it himself.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned technology. Do you see any merits to it?
Well, I mean, we use propane.
Sure. Oh, wait, you're saying at the Palenques?
You know, I mean,
just in general.
Germain Robin. We had a wood-fired still. We didn't want a wood-fired still. You don't have any control what happens. You build the fire, you can't open the door until it goes out, okay? Because if you do, it changes everything so dramatically, right? So, you know, so we had a propane burner, right? You know, it probably was 5% of the quality that we could adjust the run while it was going on. Taste, oh no, I think I'll slow things down a little bit, right? Oh no, I don't like this. I'll speed it up a little bit. And so, no, technology's great, but I mean, look how we got here.
Yeah, right.
But it's this all-consuming, attachment and fascination.
Yeah.
Those are, it's like these guys. It's like Facebook. They design everything so that you want to keep going.
Yeah. Kind of compulsively, right?
Oh, it's sick.
Fast food, if you will.
All of it. You go to a restaurant and there's 4 people looking at their cell phones. Excuse me, what are you there for?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, that's one of the things that I'm the same way. You know, and if I'm on a date, take someone out, it's forbidden. You know, we're here. If you don't want to be here, no problem. You can leave. That's no problem. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But one of the things that becomes very clear to me again and again is there's nothing that can replicate the experience of sipping a mezcal together, because you're in that moment. There's no way you can post about it and it's the same thing as being there and having that sensory experience. Do you find that to be something that's at least a little bit optimistic about technology, is that you can't supplement the real thing in person with someone?
Yeah, and one of the things you can do with technology is pretend you are very, very sort of convincingly, right? And so you're not getting a real experience, you're getting somebody else that was made up in somebody else's brain, and they're asking you to sort of say, oh, this is real.
Yeah.
No, it's not,
Yeah.
And, so, that's why if you look at all our stuff, all it is information. Information. We want people to look at it and think, oh, okay, I get this. And then when they're drinking a mezcal, they have some notion about why it is that it's doing what it's doing to them, right? Where we were when we were at Lazo yesterday or day before yesterday talking to Angel Robles. I said to him, do you love what you do? He says, of course I love what I do. I love it. And you can feel that's what's in his product.
Yeah.
He loves it, right? When he's distilling, he's happy. It's not a job, right? It's his life. And so he's got this stuff. It's why Germain Robin was so good. The guy was... but it was, he put into it what most people put into their children and their relationships.
That's right.
Right? I've run a lot of people that are like that. It's like, here's something you have some control over. There's this other stuff you don't. So it's really easy to love this because it doesn't fight back. You see what I mean? All that energy, beautiful human energy, is being placed into this stuff, and that's why it's so good.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that was a big one. That was a big one. There's something, I don't know how to articulate it necessarily, but I've been to Oaxaca many times, as you have, and there's still something so special about mezcal. There's nothing like it in any other kind of
plant.
You think it's a plant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the culture that exploits it grew up with it. I mean, I've been reading a lot about, there was a whole bunch of rock art in the lower Pecos Valley, which is now underwater, right? Or a lot of it is. And they find this stuff, okay? They find Sotol, they find, and there's stuff. They brought a huichol there, and the guy said, "Oh, I know this stuff. I know what this is." Here's what you're looking at. I mean, in other words, there was enough cross. This was just a continuation of Mesoamerican culture in the American Southwest, right? It was all there. So you just think of this stuff being an integral part of their lives for millennia, right? And then they have some understanding of it that I don't know anything I understand that way. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I can hear you.
I don't know anything I understand that deeply.
Yeah.
Right? As this guy's grown up with this guy, sort of like, Angel Robles, he cuts his own firewood. Right? I mean, he goes from zero to the finished product, and it's all one hand. Right? And, he could pay somebody to do that.
Of course.
But
it's different.
No. But it's the plant. There's something in there.
It's very...
It's way more complicated than a grape.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, scientifically,
and especially than oats, right? Or barley,
or corn,
right?
Or,
I don't care what it is, right? Or sugar beets, but
there's a thing, and I'm wondering if you experience this as well. I was, again, the purpose of the trip was kind of think and process and just exist, And I was out in front. I was in a Miahuatlan, in front of just a bunch of beautiful agaves, some quiche, and then this massive pulquero was about 12 feet tall. Biggest agave I've ever seen. And I just kind of stood there for a second. And it was quiet, less birds chirping than we have here, in Centro. And I felt it. I felt it breathing as I felt myself breathing it. And there's something so amazing about agave, not only for the flavor, but somehow in its presence too. It's very magical. Do you feel that too when you're out there? And
not all the time, but no, it's there. No, I mean, when you said that, I thought, congratulations, right? I mean, it's sort of like, not everybody gets that, I think.
I think you're right, yeah.
But they do.
Absolutely.
That's what they're concentrating and purifying, is what's inside that plant, right? And that's why the stuff, I mean, I was saying earlier, I think that's the reason that people, when they start drinking Mezcal, I pour it all the time. 30% of the people, they just don't like it. Oh, it's smoky, Right. And the other 70, it's sort of, oh my God. Right. There's nothing in between. Nobody goes, oh, this is okay, I can take it or leave it, right? No, it's either I hate it or they love it, right?
You gotta love something like that,
and I think it's because the plant,
Yeah.
The plant, there's something there. And it speaks, right? Where are you feeling that, right? Not in your brain.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's different. It's incredibly different.
That's your soul talking to you, right? The plant is sort of evoking, right? It's communicating you,
I find that Mezcal is a different kind of inebriation, as you were talking about the connectivity with your body and all of that. Does your relationship with drinking change as you get older, or is it the same as it ever was?
I just don't do as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I just sort of like, why? But what's nice about Mezcal is it doesn't fuck you. It doesn't screw you up.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. I mean, my experience is you get, when you drink Mezcal, what you get is clarity.
Yes. In a lot of ways.
It's psychotropic, right? And it's clarity. We're trying to figure out now how we can talk about that without breaking the rules.
It's difficult. It's a very, very.
Here's a scoop for you. We're going to own half of Los Nogales.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, nobody knows it. It hasn't happened quite yet. That's one of the things I'm doing while I'm down here, signing the papers. But
it's incredible.
And so we're going to change. I now have control of package and marketing. Okay. And we want to start talking about Nogales. And there's some link which is going to be hard to express. I don't even understand it, between that plant and the idea that a shaman can turn himself into his animal, partner.
Yeah.
But that's the energy.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and we had this conversation again. We were driving back from Mitla last night, and I've never done acid. I enjoy mushrooms. They provide some clarity.
Mushrooms are great. Yeah.
Do you again, things
Acid, I'm not
changed.
sure I'd come back.
Yeah, right. But did you ever, in a very positive way, use the utility of drugs to process or clarify?
It's not that. Look, it gives you a deeper understanding of everything.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it does,
how do you get sensitive to energy from plants? Okay, doing mushrooms helps.
It sure does.
Right.
And this may be difficult to kind of go back and think, but it sounds like intuitively you always knew where to go. This guttural, instinctive kind of reaction.
No, what are we going to do next?
That's
And
right.
everybody say you're crazy. No, what are you kidding? You know, don't you get it?
Yeah.
That would be my say. How come you don't you see it?
Have you had
You're really smart, right? You have a high IQ,
Sure,
right? And one
let's
of the
say.
problems you have when you're really smart is you think you're being completely clear, and everybody's going to say, "What?
Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
What? You know." But you know that happens a lot. But I know it's sort of like, but it's more than that. It's not about being smart. Just I know what to do.
It's instinctive. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no book you can read to know what to do, right? You can have some kind of methodology as to how to make a decision for something difficult, but who gives a fuck about that? It's either you feel it or you don't.
Yeah. Look at Elon Musk.
That's right.
The guy is tuned in to some incredible extent, right? Mm-hmm. Everything he does is sort of like, and everybody says you're crazy,
Right.
right?
And then the world changes because he made the decision, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had, so to speak, writer's block? Or has it always come very easily for you?
No. What I've learned is to get out of the way, and it gets delivered.
I think that's true. You are a planner or no?
A what?
A planner. Do you plan your next steps? Maybe strategize, as some might use that word?
I don't have to write it down.
No.
You just keep doing.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody asks you, you sort of say something, but no, I don't know. I mean, you have to do it to certain the same, but it mostly has to do with interactions with other human beings because they need a schedule, right?
That's
but
right.
No. Things show up and say, oh, fuck, let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't believe the conversation we had with Angel Robles in a course of 3 hours out there. You would not believe the conversation we had with him about this. And when we showed up, it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. It developed just naturally, right?
Yeah. And, you know, the deeper we got into it, he's a guy who can get into things deep. He's unlike most of these. He thinks about what he does in certain ways the way a modern human being does. He understands the chemical process. He puts his stuff through analysis and so forth, you know, because he wants to know what's going on. So, you know, you ask him, how do you know when a fermentation is finished? And he'll tell you. Most of them just say, what do you mean? It's done. Right?
Yeah. I want to wait for this.
They can't articulate it. Right?
No, they can't. Because there's a bit of information.
You should interview
him. I want to. His mezcal is incredible. All right, wait for this to go by.
His grandfather is 86 years old, and he still mashes his own agaves in a canoa.
Oh, no kidding.
And I have video of this guy whacking away, right? 86 years old, and he's whacking away on this, you know, with a, you know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see him soon for sure, you know, and the stuff that I tried last night and some other of his marks, it's really lovely. So I got 2 questions left for you. I know you got a busy day here.
No, go ahead.
You talk about, I love classic Hollywood. I really do. Classic movies. And you talk about 1955 a bit. So I would ask you, you know, you're anywhere in the world, doesn't matter where, but I particularly love Alapuz San Andres. It's one of my favorite marks from y'all. So let's say you're sipping that with any living or deceased actor. Who might you like to sit down, have a conversation, and a drink with?
Jean Moreau.
Jean Moreau? Really?
Fuck. I think that woman is the
She's beautiful.
greatest woman who ever lived, right? No, it had to Jean Moreau or Yves Montand.
Ah, okay.
You know?
So you're a classic guy for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think you
I
might
quit
talk
going
about?
to movies.
Did you?
I quit going to movies
Don't
30,
enjoy it
40 years
anymore?
ago.
Yeah.
I was just sort of like, you know, I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood. There's this like classic area, French New Wave, which you're talking about.
Yeah, no, Truffaut.
Godard.
You remember that scene in The Piano Player where the guy is saying, may my mother die if I'm telling a lie, and then they cuts to this woman going, right, falling over. I mean, anyway, that stuff is,
It's classic stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, in that, the Shoot the Piano Player, what? That's
Shoot
probably...
the Piano Player.
That's probably 61 maybe?
Yeah, something around
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
something like that. So I can see where your mind and
But, you know, see, look, it came out of hadn't mutated.
Right.
It was basically those things were kind of plays on film. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No special effects.
Right.
Just how they cut.
Yeah.
Right. It's sort of like it was, to my mind, a little more human.
Yeah. Well, 400 Blows is still one of the most impactful movies I've ever seen. Well, I know you don't plan. I know you feel things, and there's this Communidad project that you're working on. Anything? I mean, you've revealed amazing projects coming up for you, but anything else that you see as something you really do need to achieve, maybe before you expire, before you hand the train?
If this all works, I'd be happy.
Yeah. What is happiness to you? What does that mean?
Happy, I don't know, satisfied, I should say, maybe.
Content?
Instead. I feel like, okay, I did a good job.
Yeah.
I did a good job with Hangar 1.
Yeah, you did. Brandy, a la Pousse.
I did a good
Craft
job
Distillers.
with the Brandy. Yeah, that was an impossible project, but we made it happen. Okay.
Yeah.
The guy who was the Washington bureau chief after James Reston
Okay. Oh, right.
came to see us, okay? Because after he retired, they gave him the card they hadn't given anybody since the Civil War. It said chief correspondent. You can do anything you want, okay? This card said chief correspondent, New York Times. So he could go anywhere he wants.
Yeah.
He comes to see us. He's a big, heavy guy, loves to eat, right? So he came to see us, right? And he was blown away, okay? So 2 days later, the whole front page of the second section is us with the headline, superior to Hennessy parody and equal to the finest cognacs ever made, and a whole half a page underneath. This whole story, okay?
Oh, man.
I got 2 phone calls. My ex-wife, my mother. It's like it never happened. It's like it never happened. We were on CBS Sunday morning, and they said when they're shot, this is going to change your life,
Yeah.
And they call us 2 weeks later and says, what's wrong? Nobody's calling us. Nobody, we got no response to that piece whatsoever. That never happens. People's lives get changed radically.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
And Germain Robin was like this. That we even kept it alive was probably the hardest thing,
But you're proud.
Well, I did a good job.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not proud of it. I just I did a good job.
Yeah.
Sort of like, okay. Yeah, somebody asked me a question about Germain Robin. Did you do a good job? Yeah, I did a good job. And it turned out it had these consequences for craft distilling and so forth that we weren't doing that. But just everybody went, oh, wow, I can do that. Right? Hangar 1 especially.
Yeah.
Everybody went, oh, I can do that. 300 vodkas were introduced while we were on the market.
Yeah.
300.
I remember this time.
Yeah, Jesus God. Anyway,
Well,
okay, I don't know if that's...
No, it's great.
I'm sorry, I can't give you a finishing line because it isn't there, right?
Well, that's the thing. Maybe that's the whole point. So you're not done.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
You'll never be done.
Yeah, well, sometime, but anyway,
Well,
we'll see.
But that's not.
So
That's
reincarnation
not
happened. Yeah, I don't have any children by blood, so there's no Campbell energy being put back into
There
the
you go.
world. Yeah.
Well, whether or not you will continue on.
Hey, this is fun. I really like talking to you. Forget this
Likewise,
stuff,
man.
right? It's sort of like
Yeah.
this has been an interesting conversation.
It's been really, really good, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time out. And I know you guys are headed to Mazatlan this afternoon, but
No, we're here in town.
Okay.
I'm not in a hurry.
Okay. Well, we're gonna.
Yeah, you've got a deadline.
I know. Well, but we'll chat more. This is special,
Okay, cool.
man. Thanks so much, Ansley, for joining me. I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers.
This was fun.
Well, there we have it. Ansley Coale Jr. of Craft Distillers, Communidad, Los Nahuales, so many different brands. To have a background, to have a career that it spans so many different kinds of things and for so long, like Ansley has had. There are a few folks that I can say that are kind of iconoclastic like this, interviewing Ron, and there's a little bit of commentary on Ron Cooper in this interview as well. And I don't know, I had this notion the other day, and I've been saying this maybe for a couple years now. It's like, you get your degree, you graduate high school, you get your degree, you get married, you have 2 kids, 2.5 kids, a dog, all of that. And then you keep looking off into the horizon and think that that's the next destination, right? That's the next big thing. That will make me feel different. That will be a sense of accomplishment. But when it comes down to it, if I was on my deathbed now or tomorrow, one of the things that I would always ring really true with me is this early morning. A little, not hungover, but a little foggy, maybe, on this beautiful porch of this Airbnb, sitting with Ansley, talking about his life. Honestly, these kinds of conversations, I think it was really reciprocated too as time went on with he and I in this conversation. But maybe this is what it's all about. Maybe these small conversations, beautiful birds, loud ass airplanes. Like maybe this is everything, you know. And I feel very, very proud of what I've done with the show. But this is one of those kind of conversations that makes me feel even more immensely proud about just people and being able to capture these stories. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how hooked you are on ranch waters because they're easier to make out of a can, you just pour mezcal in there and tequila. Or if you're thinking Jordan Peele's Nope, July 21st, is it going to be yep or nope? I don't know. The final trailer's got me kind of thinking, so we'll see. But please keep dancing.